What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Board podcast. My name is Stephen Wright, joined by Mr. William Monroe. How you doing, Will?
Doing well, Steve. We are here in the week of training camp for everyone. I know we talked last week with a few teams starting up their training camps, but this week, all the teams are getting into it. I know the Eagles are starting tomorrow. Tons of other teams that are getting into it here.
Yeah, and it kind of hit me today because we have a wedding to go to, so I got to get this edited quickly. But I was thinking today, we're a month, like 5 weeks away-ish, like as of right now, to when everything like really kicks off. But for us, like putting that into podcast perspective, that's like 4 or 5 mocks left. And then we move on to the season, which is a
winding down.
Yeah, it seems much quicker than like thinking about it from a month's perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy, and I think you have the Hall of Fame game is probably next weekend.
Yeah,
not this coming weekend, but the weekend after. I know the Eagles' first preseason game is Friday the 12th, which is only 2.5 weeks away.
Yeah, it's all coming up, man. It's all coming up. It won't be that far away, which is fun for me. I don't know if I know I've told you. I don't know if we've ever told the listeners before. To prepare for our work league, I try to do 3 drafts. I think it's 3 out of every position in the draft, because we don't find out our draft position until the draft, like draft day, like 5 minutes before we start. So I do 3 drafts or so out of every spot, and it's usually like, okay, this is what my team looks like if I go running back, or wide receiver, or tight end, wide receiver. And like the first like 2 or 3 rounds, I'll mark down and just to see how things flow. And then when I find out my position, I'll pull up that document real quick and take a look. So
take a look.
See
where you're at.
Yeah, so not too far away from you. A lot of mocks.
Yeah, it's and I guess you're doing that over the month, 2 months here leading up. You're not trying to do all that week of to get like that current ADP, right? It's
usually like it's not the full month. I'll probably do it within the last 3 weeks, but then like I'll probably do like 25%. And then the last week I try to do a lot of them just to get the most current ADP, like you said. But it changes every year. Depends on what's going on,
Yeah, absolutely. It's always flowing, always updating. So definitely something to take note of. But yeah, we are here. Football is upon us. We are, just a few days away here from August, and training camp really getting fully underway.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And then today, we got that Superflex we promised. The poll went up. It looks like 12 teams was the winner. No one.
Yeah, how close was the results there?
They ended up pretty close between the 2 options. The 12 team and the 10 team people liked. The 14 team, unsurprisingly, people were not that big of a fan of. And the 8 team people also weren't a fan of. In fact, looking at the results now, 8 teams didn't get any votes at all. In fact, somebody commented with the idea of like, 8's too small. It's not much of a challenge. 14% or 14 teams got 8%, and the idea being that was too big. Not enough quarterbacks.
There's just not enough quarterbacks.
10 teams got 21%, and then the remaining 72% went to 12 teams. So not actually close, but close from that there was only 2 clear options that people preferred. So yeah, the standard 12 team wins out.
Yeah, I was surprised. I figured that the 10 team would be the choice for Superflex, given the amount of quarterbacks that are available. You have the ability for every team to have 3 quarterbacks in the 10 team format, whereas with 12 it's a little tighter. There's going to be a couple teams that can really only come away with 2, and maybe like a rookie that you're hoping comes in mid-season.
Yeah, you get like a Trubisky Pickett kind of situation where you throw your dart at one of them, or Brissett. And
maybe that's more important in a true 2 QB league to be 10, and because you don't even have the opportunity to start somebody else on like a bye week. Like you could get away with having just 2 quarterbacks in the Superflex league, because as long as they don't have the same bye week, then you can just flex another player in there instead. You're probably not going to get that good baseline that you get with the quarterback points, but yeah, and So we're here. You ready to get started with this draft?
Yeah. Before we start, we are in Fantasy Pros. That handles Superflex a little bit better than Sleeper does. We got 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, tight end, 1 Superflex spot, and then 1 flex spot for wide receiver, running back, and tight end, and then 6 bench spots. So pretty. We got 2 flexes, which is our kind of normal. Just had to change it around a little bit. You are drafting out of the 2. I am drafting out of the 10. And it looks like
and just a reminder for everyone, and a heads up for anyone that is new. We usually don't have kicker and defense here in these drafts, just to speed it up a little bit, and because those are positions that we usually wait on anyway till the last few rounds. It's hard to do analysis on those positions just because offenses that they're playing against change so much throughout the year. So we usually don't have them in the mocks here, just looking at those onesie positions that you have your skill players, your quarterbacks.
Yep, 100%. So yeah, we can get started. Looks like Josh Allen goes off the board with the 101.
No surprise there.
No, not at all. But you are on the clock, my friend.
Yeah, and this is an interesting spot because Allen's pretty much the clear 101. Then you have all of the non-super flex top options available here in JT and McCaffrey. And then you have your Herbert and Mahomes. I think that's kind of like really the 4 options. I mean, you can look to the receiver position, but with only 2 starting receivers and the 1 flex, there's a lot more options there. So definitely not going to look in that spot. To me, it comes down to the quarterback here. And I lean Herbert slightly over Mahomes going into the year. I think he just has more weapons around him and is ready to take that next step forward. So I don't think you can go wrong with either of the 2, but I like Herbert to take another step forward here this year. So I'm going to go with a quarterback here in Superflex draft, just given that I'm not going to be picking again until pick 23, and I don't think there's going to be a ton of options available there. Tough to pass on a Taylor or McCaffrey, but it's just if I anticipate it correctly, there still should be some running backs available when it gets back to me. But that quarterback position should dry up here. Before I lock in the pick, Steve, anything you're thinking about here? A few picks away, not knowing who's there, what you're anticipating is going to happen, or what you want to do?
I feel like I'm going to end up in that like Cup Jefferson tier. I'm less confident than you that like this whole slew of quarterbacks are going to go, because I feel like they're going to spread it out, which would be nice, because that's the difficult thing about Superflex is every league's different in that, some people just pile on the quarterback early. Some people everyone waits, and, it's, you come in with a strategy and it gets blown up because everyone bobbed when you weaved and, it didn't work out. So I don't know. I feel like it's going to be like Cup. I'm assuming your top running backs go, maybe a Mahomes goes, maybe another quarterback gets in there, and then I'm left with, the Derrick Henry, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Joe Mixon kind of a tier. But we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at 9 picks before yours. There'll be 2 already off the board. I'm going to guess there'll probably be 4 or 5 total taken before your pick.
Okay.
We'll see how that happens here. But we'll lock in the pick here. Take Herbert. After Herbert is Taylor, McCaffrey, Eckler, Cooper Kupp, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes. So 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah, so 4 off the board. 2 went. So I probably should have counted better because I'm kind of where I'm expected to be, except for Henry and Kupp are gone, which there's a few more picks between me and you than I think.
Yeah, I
think
you may even anticipate Dalvin Cook would have went.
Yeah,
and Najee makes sense to be there for you, but Dalvin and Nick and Justin Jefferson, both pretty solid options.
Yeah, so this is a tough spot because we got some obviously some good running backs here. All the wide receivers outside of Kupp, so Justin Jefferson staring down. Travis Kelce, kind of a big deal. And then obviously your quarterbacks. I kind of feel like rolling the dice on quarterback and seeing maybe what gets back to me in the 3rd round. Just kind of play a different strategy from you and see how it kind of works out. So I think what I'm going to do first, man, it's tough. I was going to say I want to go Justin Jefferson. I haven't grabbed him yet this year, but I am worried about the running back position in a super flex. If I go, wide receiver, tight end, maybe Kelsey gets back to me. And then with my third pick, I go quarterback. And then, suddenly it's fourth round. I don't have a running back yet. So kind of concerned about that, but we'll play the game and see what's going to work out. I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson, potential to be the wide receiver one, I think. And I think a lot of other people think, depending on what that offense looks like moving forward. But, yeah, I like him here. So I'm going to pass up the running backs. I'm going to go with Mr. Jefferson. And we'll see what gets back to me here first. So, again, no quarterbacks going. We got Najee, Dalvin, Jamar Chase, and Devontae Adams going off the board. So, top of the board here, we got Joe Mixon, Travis Kelce, Kyler Murray, Deandre Swift, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Hurts. So, given it looks like that we're taking an approach of quarterbacks are going to be scattered, I'm feeling a bit more comfortable waiting into the third. And seeing if maybe a Dak or a Burrow or something like that gets to me. It might be wishful thinking, but I'm gonna give it a go. So that takes the quarterback out of the equation. That doesn't make it any easier because you got Joe Mixon here. Nice the value in the second round really. Travis Kelce, get that elite tight end. If I'm not going to have an elite quarterback, maybe I get the elite tight end. Deandre Swift, who, me and millions of other people are super high on. And in fact, I'm looking at him like, man, would I actually want Deandre Swift over Joe Mixon? And the answer is maybe. It's, if Swift could pull off a CMC kind of thing from a few years ago of you're on a bad team, but that actually kind of helped you because you caught more passes. But it feels like a stretch with Joe Mixon here. So I think I'm going to maintain the balance, and I'm going to draft Joe Mixon, and then we'll roll the dice on what gets back to me in the third. So that pick is in. Wow. Okay. That didn't work, did it?
Quarterbacks are flowing.
Yeah. Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, the next three picks. So team 8 and 9 both have two quarterbacks already here. Stephon Diggs. There goes Travis Kelce, 208. The impact of a Superflex. Debo, and then Saquon right before you. You were up with the 211.
Yeah, and thrilled with some of the running backs that are still here. Was not anticipating that being the case. The receivers, still solid options. CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill. Obviously, you don't usually see him this far down in the second, but once again, Superflex. What do we have? 7 off the board now? More than that even, right?
Yeah, 7.
7 off the board. So, that's what's going to push it down. This is where you normally be looking, Mark Andrews, but there's just, too much value at the running back position for me here. So, it comes down to Swift and Aaron Jones. Javonte Williams is nice as well, but I don't think I can pass on Swift and Jones at this stage. And it's tough. I feel like I've been rising on Aaron Jones. I think they're going to use him a lot, just, as we talked about, unknown receiving options there. And I think some people will probably step up, but we're thinking that this running game is going to be used prevalently with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. That all being said, I can't pass on Swift here. Just the pure upside of Deandre Swift this late in the second round. I still am going to have a chance at Aaron Jones or Javonte Williams likely in the next round, or one of the receivers that are still here. I wouldn't mind passing on receiver, locking in 2 running backs with Herbert, and just letting that play. Now, there is the temptation of going with another quarterback, like a Dak, like a Russ, Brady, that, Dak might be, something that I look to if both of those other 2 running backs go, as I mentioned. But like I said, just can't pass on Swift here. So I'm going to lock Swift in first and then see what gets back to me here. So Swift goes. So then after I take Swift, Aaron Jones and CeeDee Lamb. So Javonte Williams still there would be the option if I decide to go running back here. We've still got Mike Evans, a very good receiver. Tyreek Hill, ton of upside there. Keenan Allen. But I just think there's still too much upside at quarterback even as well as running back. And I wouldn't mind getting some, more middle tier receivers if I can put together a team with the start that I have here. So I'm high on Javonte Williams this year. As nice as it would be to lock in two stud quarterbacks, I don't mind kind of viewing my second quarterback in a Superflex league the same way that I view my first quarterback in a redraft league. It's one that I can kind of rotate through and hit on one, whether it's going with a younger guy like a Trey Lance later or Trevor Lawrence, or getting a little bit more safer of an option like a Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins. But the running back position is just not something that's going to be very, very juicy when it gets back to me. I mean, Montgomery, Connor, Zeke Elliott, Chubb are all still there, but I don't imagine any of them get back. So the opportunity of getting a Swift and Javonte Williams, locking both of them in here, is just too much for me. Anything you're thinking about here with the way the board laid out, with me likely picking Javonte Williams, with what you think is going to come back before I pick?
Yeah, I'm pretty curious because at this stage, we got some quarterbacks. If you're looking at ADP spread out, so over the next 20 picks, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks listed. So in theory, like some good guys can get to me, but we got team 3, 4, 5, and 6 without any. So it could be another kind of bloodbath at quarterback. But we'll see. If it's not, then I'll probably punt the quarterback until the 4th round. If it is, then, we'll see what's there. Nick Chubb's down there. I think he could get to me. T. Higgins would be interesting. If a lot of quarterbacks go, that means like a Keenan Allen might be falling to me, which would be awesome. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, again, Superflex, man. It all depends on what people are thinking with these quarterbacks.
And no, I totally get it there. So we will see what happens, but I'm going to lock in Javonte Williams here. After Williams goes Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette, Mark Andrews. So back-to-back tight ends there for Team 5, an interesting choice. Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Tyreek Hill, and Mike Evans. So all the quarterbacks get past, and I think your wish of Dak Prescott looks like it may have paid off.
Yeah, so not a... The quarterbacks did not go. And despite the fact that they did not go, Keenan Allen's still here.
Yeah.
So I'm in an interesting spot where we got the top of the ADPs, Keenan Allen, Dak, Russ, Tom Brady. So we got a lot of good quarterbacks here. My issue currently is that the Team 11 and Team 12 do not have quarterbacks. So I would love to grab like a Keenan Allen here and then roll the dice on what quarterback gets back to me and just take them because I'm comfortable with all 3, but all 3 very well could go.
Yeah, the chance that one of them take 2 and then you're looking at a Stafford or Rodgers as your top guy.
Yeah, and that's, a long wait to get there. Like I'd imagine Stafford's going to go because again, team 3, 4, 5, and 6 don't have quarterbacks. They're going to start pulling the trigger. So I kind of feel like I'm in a tough spot there. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull the trigger. And I think I'm going to roll the dice on Russ. I don't think I've drafted him at all this year. Given I trust his weapons in Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, the tight end core there, Tim Patrick, a little bit more than, what Dak has and Brady with the Godwin injury. So we're going to lock in Russ. Not going to roll the dice. I really would have liked to, but I don't think I would have been in a good spot. And there we go. 3 quarterbacks go. Somebody jumps on Stafford's.
Not the ones you thought, though. There you go.
No, yeah. So Rodgers went, David Montgomery, and then that rounded out the 3rd. To start the 4th is Tom Brady and Matt Stafford. So yeah, I would have absolutely got burned. But this is awesome because Keenan Allen still made it to me. Yeah, PPR machine. So I am happy with that. We'll go ahead and lock him in. No questions asked. Kyle Pitts goes right after me. James Conner. There goes Dak finally. Team 3, 4, 5, and 6 still not going with their quarterbacks. Cam Akers, T. Higgins, AJ Brown, and Michael Pittman go off for those teams. You are back on the clock.
Yeah, so it's interesting with the additional flex. I can still look the running back position. I do want to start looking at the wide receiver position, possibly tight end. Here we still have everyone outside of the top 3 there with Pitts, Andrews, and Kelsey off the board. But, not having any receivers, still looking at a second quarterback, maybe even another running back. I just think the need is too much of the other positions to be able to take the luxury of going with a tight end there. So looking at the receiver position, some names that stick out to me here: DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Brandon Cooks. We have Mike Williams, Cortland Sutton, Hollywood Brown. So all solid options. DJ Moore probably sticks out the most. Wouldn't mind pairing him and a Brandon Cooks up here, but we still have some pretty solid options at some of the other positions as well. Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, Elijah Mitchell, Miles Sanders. No one really stands out there either. So it probably, if another one of the other running backs maybe fell, it might have enticed me to take a third there over a receiver. And then we look at the quarterback position: Trey Lance, Derek Carr is a solid option. Kirk Cousins, Tua Tagovailoa definitely starts to drop off. I'm cool with Carr, Cousins, and Lance. So wouldn't be taking one here, but possibly in the next round, just because I think there is going to be a pretty big drop off, and there's still a lot of receivers I wouldn't mind grabbing a little later. So I'm going to go with the receiver first here in DJ Moore, and then see what happens when it comes back to me here. So we'll lock in DJ Moore. And after that, let me scroll down here. Travis Etienne and Jalen Waddle both go. So team one does not take their quarterback. Interesting. So we've got, if we look at the board here, still 4 teams that are directly after me that do not have a quarterback. And there is 4 teams after that, not including yourself, that have 2 quarterbacks. So in all likelihood, somewhere between a couple and up to 10, if everyone wants to double in, their quarterbacks will go. But it's as long as that doesn't happen, I still think there's a chance that Matt Ryan or Trevor Lawrence is still there. So I think it's probably going to be more beneficial to me to go with another receiver here just to get a second one locked in. And I've got DJ Moore. I've talked him up all year. You like him as well. Brandon Cooks for me is just a nice, safe second receiver option here to pair with DJ Moore, who has had some volatility issues. When it comes to his most recent seasons, he's really consistent, waiting for that true breakout, and hopefully that can come with Baker Mayfield. But alas, I'd rather just lock in that other receiver position here. So that is going to be Brandon Cooks here for me. So lock in Brandon Cooks. After him, we have Deontay Johnson, Breece Hall, Antonio Gibson, Trey Lance goes off the board, Amari Cooper, Josh Jacobs, and J.K. Dobbins. So only one quarterback goes off the board there, Steve, leading up to you.
Yeah, again, I didn't know what to expect. I figured 2 would go. I didn't really think Carr would get to me here. That's kind of tempting.
Carr and Kirk are both interesting.
Yeah, that's...
You get that stack for yourself.
Yeah, that's solid options with those 2. So I think... So given, the 2 teams behind me both went quarterbacks last time, one of which went with 2. So I feel safe not taking a quarterback and getting Carr or Cousins. The wide receivers are nice. Terry McLaurin, Metcalf, Mike Williams. I'd have to pass on because I got Keenan. I don't want to double up. Cortland Sutton. I mean, I could make a double stack here. I could have Russ and Cortland Sutton and Kirk and Justin Jefferson. That would be pretty wild. Running backs, though, I'm stuck. All I got is Joe Mixon. If we're looking at the board, we got Elijah Mitchell, AJ Dillon, Miles Sanders. So while I'd really like to add the Denver wide receiver there, I feel like I have to take a running back now because by the time it gets back, we're going to be in this Singletary Penny kind of phase, I would think, unless the quarterbacks all start flying. And I'm not going to be a fan of that. So I'm going to go ahead and just lock in Elijah Mitchell. To me, of those top 3, Mitchell, Dillon, and Sanders, he's the one I like most being in that San Francisco offense. Sanders, really intriguing as well. Just like the upside of the San Francisco offense a little bit more. Plenty of risk there with the injuries and, the rotation that San Fran employs, but we'll take that risk. We'll lock him in there. See what gets back to me. AJ Dillon goes, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, and Mike Williams. So my gamble paid off in that no quarterbacks went. I do really like Derek Carr this year, but like you said, I have the stack with Justin Jefferson. I like having that stack, so I'll go ahead and pull the trigger on Kirk Cousins, get my second quarterback out of the way, and then we can go from there. I am tempted to wait because, again, I'd love to add some of these other options, but I'll go with the strategy of kind of two middle guys. I don't know if you will call Russ middle, but I mean, he was like the 8th or ninth quarterback off the board. So it's not super high either. So we'll go ahead. We'll go with kind of a middle strategy here. Lock in my second quarterback. Chase Edmonds goes off the board. Darnell Mooney. George Kittle. Forgot about George Kittle. 606 going off the board.
Yeah.
There is some quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson, Derek Carr, Justin Fields going off the board. And then Darren Waller right before you.
Yeah, I was really hoping that Carr was going to get back to me there with the way it was falling, but not the case, unfortunately. So the quarterback position, we're now looking at Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Matt Ryan, Jameis Winston. A couple of solid options there. I think Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Matt Ryan are all decent second quarterback options here. So probably go with one of them with my next pick, but just given that I've got flexibility of being at the turn here and assuming that team, will likely just go with one, hoping Matt Ryan will be the one for me still available in the next round. So when I look at what's available at the other positions, we've still got Miles Sanders, who's interesting. I do think he's due for a pretty big season in Philadelphia with that overall, what looks to be a dynamic offense, as long as Hurts can kind of take then another step forward, as we have seen. We've got Kareem Hunt, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Damien Harris, Rashad Penny. They're interesting options. I think Miles is probably the one that sticks out the most. But then when I look at the receiver position, Cortland Sutton, Hollywood Brown, Jerry Jeudy, Allen Robinson, some solid options there as well. I think that for me, actually looking at what's available here, may even see if I can wait another round on the quarterback position, because getting Miles Sanders and then one of the Denver receivers would be some really nice depth here. So I think that actually might be the move, and just see what it's like to truly wait a little bit longer here for that second quarterback position. So going to go with my third running back here, and then depending what happens, likely a third receiver in the next round. So we go Miles. After him, DeAndre Hopkins and Davis Mills comes off the board. Wow, that's an interesting one. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a stretch. I was thinking the same thing with Fields. Like, it felt early for Fields and, Watson, of course. But yeah, I mean, Davis Mills, I guess young upside maybe trumps like Matt Ryan and Winston and Tannehill. But like, I'd rather have Tua given the weapons around him. I'd rather have Ryan myself personally, but yeah, he seems more in that like Zach Wilson, Daniel Jones, Mac Jones kind of tier to me. But that's credit to fantasy pros. This is what your leagues are going to be like. Some people have different opinions on people, and they're going to jump at them when you don't agree. So a nice wrench that gets thrown into everything, and maybe that's to you or my benefit.
Yeah, exactly. So the interesting thing for me is that I have both of those Denver receivers available, as well as Hollywood Brown. All three options I think are very solid here. I've got some stability at the position there with, I think, Brandon Cooks just getting some good volume. And then we also have DJ Moore, another good volume as well. So I am tempted to take a shot on Hollywood Brown. But I just think overall, I just really like Jerry Jeudy. And I think I was on his side. I think you're on the Cortland Sutton side of the Denver duo, right?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I've always liked Sutton. And I feel like we've seen more from him than Jeudy. And Jeudy still has some lingering off the field issues, right? Like, I don't know if we're expecting a suspension, but I feel like something happened.
Think so?
No? Let's look that up. I thought something had happened with him.
Yeah, I know it said he is fully healthy as of a few weeks ago. He declared himself fully healthy after a groin injury last year. I did miss part of OTAs with it as well, but it seems to be pretty good now. I don't see anything in the news here about that, but it's possible, and hopefully that's something that we'll have more clarity on once we get closer to the season.
Yeah, I could just be making that up. I'll take a look while you're making your pick.
Yeah. But alas, I mean, for me, it's going to be between Jerry Jeudy and Hollywood Brown. I think Jeudy, we have maybe it's a higher jump from last year to this year than Cortland Sutton does. I think Sutton probably does get better another year off of the injury, especially with Russ there. but Judy, had the pedigree, the investment from a draft perspective. One of the top receivers in this draft. There, great route runner. Now, and I know Russ does throw it deep a lot more often, so maybe that works a little more in Cortland Sutton or some of the ancillary receivers' favor. But I think Judy is overall a guy that I think is going to take a really big step forward here. So he's going to be the guy I lock in as my third receiver, and we are going to play the waiting game on the flex position a little bit longer. And after him, we have Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, and then a slew of wide receivers here in Sutton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown, Chris Godwin, and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
So I am not crazy. This was as of May 31st. I haven't seen anything about it being settled. But at some point, so at the end of May, there was a motion to dismiss all charges against Judy as he was charged with second-degree criminal tampering with a domestic violence enhancer in the middle of May. So I don't know if, the motion passed and, it's been dropped, or if that's even how it works. I don't know law, but something happened at some point. I haven't heard anything about it since, so I'm assuming it's fine. Like, even the Kamara stuff's starting to come up a little bit now of, like, people waiting, so I'm assuming it's fine, but I don't know. Something happened at some point.
Yeah, good to know.
Yeah.
And then it's one of those things, hey, if you're thinking about a player, he's coming up and you're unsure, good to just Google him just before you make that pick, just to be safe that there's not an article that you missed out there.
Yeah, it could be a tiebreaker for you. Nothing's happened, but maybe that if you're drafting now, it's a tiebreaker. So we're taking a look at the positions at running back. We got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kareem Hunt, Damien Harris, Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary at wide receiver, Allen Robinson, Rashad Bateman, Michael Thomas, Elijah Moore, Adam Thielen at tight end, Dalton Schultz, TJ Hawkinson, Goddard, Ertz. So still, plenty of solid options here. I'm looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire and I'm looking at Damien Harris, believe it or not. I kind of find Damien Harris's likely consistency, like a solid probably RB2 for the whole year, not a ton of upside, but should be the starter and should get plenty of work as a nice complement to Elijah Mitchell, in the quarterback or the running back carousel that could be San Francisco, or the injury problems that could follow him again this year. It's hard looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire and passing him up because I always look at his name and see upside. It just got to give up on that. So it feels weird, but I think I'm going to draft Damien Harris here, get a safe running back to complement, Elijah Mitchell, and then see what gets back to me. I'd like Dalton Schultz if that could happen, and it will. Michael Thomas goes, Jameis Winston goes. That rounds out the 7th round to start the 8th. Elijah Moore and Ken Walker. So looking at tight end, I've been drafting Dalton Schultz a lot. I don't know if I've said this to you, Will, or on the podcast, or neither, but I think he could be the tight end 3 on the year. I don't think he can get to 2.
We're talking Dalton Schultz.
Yeah. Just because, Amari Cooper's gone, where the target's going to go, the Gallup
definitely
injury,
a lot of vacated targets.
Yeah. And there was times last year when Lamb disappeared. So I think he could have a really big role there. I don't know if he could surpass a Kelsey or an Andrews, not without an injury. But you never know. Kelsey has a harder time because Hill's gone and the Chiefs offense doesn't move as much, or touchdowns don't go Andrews' way or something. It could happen. I just think 3 is probably more realistic. So I'm locking him in the 8th round, getting a guy that I think could be the tight end 3. It's pretty awesome. So he is in there. Bunch of wide receivers going. Allen Robinson, Gabriel Davis, Adam Thielen, Rashad Bateman. Got a quarterback going. Matt Ryan, Tyler Lockett, another quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky, we mentioned earlier. Interesting, giving, we don't know he's the starter, and you got people like Ryan Tannehill here, but okay. So Trubisky's in, and you were on the clock with the 8-11.
Yeah, another quarterback gamble does not pay off here for me as I take the risk on Matt Ryan, and he once again gets just a few picks away, just as Derek Carr did just a couple rounds ago. Alas, I wait and take a look at the quarterback landscape that is left over here. We are looking at Ryan Tannehill, Zach Wilson, Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield. Almost tempted to grab two, but there's just too much other value over here to be taking two of those and not another skill player. So, we look at the running backs. Really hasn't been much movement there. Not no one that screams that you have to take them. Penny's interesting, Kareem Hunt, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But wide receiver, there's some interesting options. Devonta Smith, someone who I've been really high on. Wouldn't mind grabbing another receiver there, as that's a position that I want to get some more depth in since I waited a little while to start getting that position together. Hunter Renfro, I think is, some people have been all about him, other people haven't been as much, but I think Devonta's, really there's a drop off after him, so he's going to be the first pick here, locking in that, getting that fourth receiver locked in, and really feeling good about my starting and flex positions. After him, we have Russell Gage and James Cook off the board. So it comes back to me here, and at this point, I'm looking at either going with one of my tight ends here or taking that quarterback. And I don't think I can wait anymore. I do think I got to take a shot at quarterback. There's still a few tight ends that I like on the board here. I guess it just comes down for me. When do I think teams are going to start taking their third quarterback? Because everyone does have a second quarterback. So I kind of actually want to see if I can go with another one, but I don't know if I want to double down on a position again. Like I do have 2 Broncos now and 2 Eagles. Skill position wise, so almost don't want to double down on positions again here with we'll be tripling down with Dallas Goedert, but TJ Hawkinson, Zach Ertz, a little bit of drop off into that. So I think I'll gamble, see what they get, who gets back to me here. I'll take an upside quarterback in Zach Wilson, one that I think a lot of people are wondering if he can take that step forward because he's got the weapons around him. Elijah Moore showed it last year. Garrett Wilson is a very highly recruited receiver coming in. So we have him stepping into the wide receiver 2 role, some other veteran receivers, top running back in the draft there in Breece Hall. So I think, maybe that offense can take that step forward and I take a shot on Wilson here late. If he hits, then my team is rolling. If not, I can always look to the waiver wire to pick up a quarterback to fill in, or I've got some depth at the position, so until I can find that one, I can always start a 6th skill position guy. So we're going to lock in Zach Wilson here as my next player. And after I take Wilson, we have Treylon Burks, Hunter Henry, Drake London, Alan Lazard, Tony Pollard, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Cordero Patterson. So far, my tight end gamble pays off. Hopefully that works out a little bit better than the quarterback gamble I had the last couple rounds.
Yeah, we will see. I'm going to take advantage of these past few rounds where not a lot of running backs have gone. It's a real shame because there was a run right before me. You read it off, Will. There, Pollard, Clyde, Patterson. Like I would have loved Clyde or Pollard here. So that's a shame, but we still got Hunt, Singletary, Penny, Melvin Gordon, Ramondre Stevenson. I'd have to pass on. I got Damien Harris. I wouldn't want that. Michael Carter, not too bad. So I think I'd like to double up here. But I also need to look at the wide receiver position. So as much as I like to double up and come away with a, 2 of Hunt, Singletary, Penny, or Gordon, I have to turn the wide receiver. All I got right now is Justin Jefferson and Keenan Allen. So I feel like I need a third. We have Christian Kirk. We've got Brandon Ayuk, Robert Woods, Kadarius Toney, Chase Claypool, Jacoby Myers. So we're definitely not in the greatest tier in the world. So what this tells me is I can go ahead and wait on running back. I'm happy with 4 options. I don't think the teams behind me are going to take 4 straight running backs. So I'm good rolling the dice that one of them will get back to me. It's just a matter of which one of these other ones I would like as my 3. The answer, none of them. I'm not particularly thrilled with this. But I'm looking at Christian Kirk, believe it or not. I don't think I've drafted him anywhere. But he's the one on a team. He got paid, and they're going to need to throw the ball a lot, I'd imagine. Ayuk's getting some bad reports out of camp again. Robert Woods, could be fine. He just feels too safe. If I didn't have a nice safe guy in Keenan Allen, I might be taking a shot there. On the flip side, Kadarius Toney seems too risky. I'd rather him be my 4, not my 3. So Christian Kirk feels like he falls right into that category. I'm not sure what his upside is. It might just be volume upside, garbage time upside, but whatever, that's upside. So I'll take him. We'll see what running back gets back to me. Robert Woods goes, Sky Moore, Chris Olave, and then Devin Singletary goes. So all my running backs have made it through, believe it or not. I think the one I want most, man, I've been fading Kareem Hunt a lot, given the Watson news and the Brissett and everything else. And I'm kind of sitting here like, man, I kind of want Penny more. I don't know if that's smart though. It kind of feels stupid. Because you don't really, we had like, how many games did Penny go up for last year? Like the last 4 games of the year or something. So he's had 4 good games out of his 4-year career. He's just injured so much. I think I'll go with Kareem Hunt. I'm worried about him, but Penny just seems too much of a gamble. So we'll lock him in there. Grab another running back here. Melvin Gordon and Michael Carter go. Michael Gallup and Garrett Wilson. There goes Penny, 10:08. Brandon Ayuk and Mac Jones. You are on the clock. No tight ends have gone.
No, so it definitely works in my favor there, although I was debating Mac Jones just to like double up on that position. So that unfortunately is not going to be the case here. Still have some other quarterbacks. We've got Tannehill, Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Marcus Mariota. So some decent options there, but tight end's going to have to be the pick here, either this round or next round. So we'll see if there's any other interesting options. Like you said, Ramondre Stevenson, Naeem Hines, Ronald Jones. I'm not thrilled with the running backs there. Kadarius Toney is interesting. Garrett Wilson would have been nice, but he goes a little bit before my pick there as well. MVS, Dundee Parker, some other interesting receiver options there. Yeah, I'm almost tempted here to go 2 tight ends. It's not something that we usually do, but it's just crazy seeing the depth of these guys that are here. Now, you never want to draft to have to trade, and that's kind of what that move would be. But to get a TJ Hawkinson and a Zach Ertz or a Goddard is pretty interesting. I think Hawkinson is the most upside guy here, and he's going to be the one that at this stage of the draft I don't think I can pass up. So we'll lock him in and see what happens after that. Like I thought, one of the tight ends does go there, Dallas Goedert, and then Ramondre Stevenson. The draft board tells me that was a steal per the draft analytics there, Steve. So I don't know if you're getting any of those. It just popped up as soon as I made that pick.
I haven't seen it. Maybe I'm not paying attention, or maybe I'm just not getting any steals.
Possibly.
That'd be a shame.
But Zach Ertz is an interesting option here. Like I said, doubling down on that. Maybe having some bigger tight ends would allow me to maybe make a trade for a second quarterback as well. Kadarius Toney is another one that I think a lot of people have faded, and he's almost so faded that he's worth taking a shot on. But I think here I've got 4 receivers already. I need to go with either a 4th running back or maybe even a 3rd quarterback. But flexibility there. So James Robinson's interesting. Damian Pierce a little further down is someone that's interesting as well. And then, as we said, the quarterbacks there. I think I'm going to go with Jack Ertz here. It just seems like he is the best value of everyone here. It just seems like most other guys would be a reach, and don't necessarily like taking 2 tight ends. But in this situation, the way the board fell, there's just not a lot of value elsewhere. And I think, should be good to have at least one of them be valuable. And I think there's a good chance that if they both start out well, I'll have some trade options there as well to maybe go up and get a more strong quarterback. So very seldom do that, but I'm going to be taking a second tight end here. Zach Ertz. After him, Christian Watson, Mike Gesicki, Ryan Tannehill, Dawson Knox, Isaiah Spiller, and Pat Freiermuth. Rondale Moore just before you.
Yeah, I'm assuming your double quarterback scared all the other teams, and now they're drafting their tight ends. Or your double tight end, sorry.
Exactly.
There's definitely a bit of a
hopefully
run there.
That benefits you a little bit there. Buddy.
Yeah, let us hope. So I'm sitting here for running backs: Joe Mixon, Elijah Mitchell, Damien Harris, Kareem Hunt. 3 wide receivers: we got Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Christian Kirk. So I'd like to look back at the wide receiver position. Kadarius Toney is still here. Called him out last time. Do you like taking the shot on him this year at the running back position? It's definitely dried up. Naeem Hines, Ronald Jones, Alexander Mattison, J.D. McKissick. Some solid PPR kind of guys. Gainwell's down here. Mostert, if you want to take that shot. At the quarterback position, because I'm not going to shy away from taking a third right now. Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Baker, Mariota, Jimmy G, Kenny Pickett, Drew Lock, Sam Darnold, Desmond Ridder, blah, 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 blah. So of our starters, we got 5.5. Daniel Jones, Wentz, Goff, Mayfield, Mariota. I'm going to give half to Kenny Pickett. Drew Lock's kind of a half. And we don't know about Jimmy G. He could be a half. We really don't know. So we got like 6-ish. Brissett's down there as a potential temporary starter. So that is interesting. There are so few left, but it's hard for me to pass on the upside of Kadarius Toney. If he could just, show that freak athleticism and put some things together, and Daniel Jones also put some things together. He's another one in a good position to be catching a lot. So we'll lock him in there, get a nice upside guy to pair with my, volume guy of Christian Kirk and my, safer Keenan Allen there. Tight ends continue. Cole Kmet, Hunter Henry, round out the 11th. To start the 12th, James Robinson and Naeem Hines. So still a lot of wide receivers left. Jacoby Myers is here, solid. Safe options like Boyd and Landry, Kenny Gallaudet, if you want to get back on that. Upside in MVS, an interesting shot on Parker. For me, maybe Tim Patrick, take a shot on. Stack with Russell Wilson. A lot of people believe in him. What I think I'm going to do, though, Will, is take another quarterback. Take my last quarterback here. My pick of the litter before all the teams grab up their third, which I'm assuming is going to happen before my next pick. There's a lot of picks between me and there. So Drew Lock, Kenny Pickett, Jimmy G, not really interested in. Just too much of an unknown and not enough upside. Daniel Jones, kind of interesting. Carson Wentz, kind of. Goff, going to be throwing a lot, I would assume. Got some pretty good weapons. Baker's another one. Mariota, if he still has some rushing ability, that could be interesting. I think of them, it's crazy it is to say, is that he's the one being shuffled around, but Baker, I think, is the one I like the most. He's got the best options or the best weapons. CMC, DJ Moore, Terrence Marshall, Robbie Anderson, kind of. So some really good options where Wentz really just has McLaurin. Daniel Jones has some interesting options, but nothing super proven. Goff, another solid one, but I think Baker has more upside than him. So we're going to lock in Baker. I'm fine with him being my 3. I'm also pretty confident he'll be the starter. Sam Darnold shouldn't be an issue. So we'll lock him in there, get my third quarterback there. A lot of running backs going here, Will. Alexander Mattison, Marlon Mack, Ronald Jones, Darrell Henderson, J.D. McKissick, Dameon Pierce, and Rashad White.
Yeah, Dameon Pierce would have been nice. Another guy that I think a lot of people are on, but he's someone that I've been high on, just taking a shot on a running back that can take over a backfield possibly early on. Alas, he is off the board here. So still some quarterbacks available for me. I think Jared Goff would be really nice to pair with Zach Wilson as my QB2 options. Carson Wentz, another upside guy, I guess you could say. But I do like the stability a little bit more there of Goff, and neither of them really have any risk behind them. So Goff will probably be my pick either here or in the next round. But we'll take a look at some of the other positions. We've got Kenneth Gainwell, Jamal Williams, Raheem Mostert. It's not a bad shot here. Gus Edwards as well. Tyler Algier as another younger running back that could be, that this year's Elijah Mitchell or just that rookie that breaks out that no one really expects. At wide receiver, Chase Claypool still sitting there. It's pretty good value. Jacoby Myers, we've got MVS, Devontae Parker, so still some solid options there as well. I think Mostert probably calls out to me as the best option here. However, let's see. The team behind me has 4 running backs. It just comes down to, do I want to risk them possibly taking Goff? And even though he's not the top one available, I just want to make sure I lock that in, because I think out of the remaining quarterbacks, he just fits very well with my upside Zach Wilson play. Should just be a safe option. So I'm going to lock in Goff first. Next team takes Kenneth Gainwell and Daniel Jones. So not sure if they would have had Goff higher than Jones, but alas, I'm happy that I've got that one locked in. Still just 3 running backs, so I think running back's going to be the pick here for me. 4 receivers on the team is already, and that's going to be Raheem Mostert. We talked about that backfield. It's definitely not the sexiest one to get into, just with the amount of people you have there. You kind of get a little bit of that New England scariness if you just don't know who's going to be the guy. And if I put my money down, I think it's probably Chase Edmonds. He's the one they signed first. They went out of their way to make sure they got him, but Mostert's familiar with the system, and if he can stay healthy, a lot of times he takes the job and doesn't look back. So this late in the draft, I think he's a guy that can come out and take a backfield over. So definitely someone that I don't mind taking this late in the draft. So we're going to lock him in here. After Mostert, Gus Edwards, Tyler Algier, Darrell Williams, Mark Ingram, Marcus Mariota, Noah Fant, and Chase Claypool.
Yeah, so back on the clock, the one wide receiver has gone. It's interesting how the middle of the draft was all wide receivers, quarterbacks, and some tight ends, and now late it's all running backs and tight ends. So that's interesting, and I'll take advantage of that. So I'm going to aim for a 1-2 punch here, Will. I'd like to take... Ooh, Tim Patrick's there, though.
Got to get yourself a Denver receiver to get the stack.
The stack,
You'll have a double stack.
Yeah, I was going to do a 1-2 punch of MVS and Devontae Parker, get an upside shot on MVS, and then get what I think is probably like a steady with some upside shot on Parker. I've drafted Parker in a lot of drafts, but Tim Patrick sitting here with Russell Wilson, giving me the old double stack. Each quarterback's got a wide receiver target. And the unknown, Tim Patrick could be the wide receiver 2 for that team when it comes to like targets and, fantasy ability. I doubt it, but some people believe it. So I think I am going to pivot, and MVS is the easier one to pivot off of for me, just because, I see the upside in Kansas City. They paid him a lot of money, but, he had an elite quarterback before. He's dropped the ball a lot, and that's not the quarterback's fault. Well, sometimes it is, but in these situations, not. So he's the one that I'm not really interested in. So I'm going to draft Devontae Parker first, and draft Tim Patrick with my second or my last pick here. Carson Wentz goes, Khalil Herbert, Jamal Williams, Robert Tonyan. So easy peasy. Tim Patrick is locked in. That finishes up the draft on my end. Chris Carson goes, Tyler Boyd, Jarvis Landry, Sony Michel, Jameson Williams, Kenny Pickett finally there. 1409, Mecole Hardman.
All right. Not a ton of running backs here. At this stage, I'm taking a shot on a running back or receiver. I've got 3 quarterbacks, and there's really none here that, scream, take a shot. I've already got 2 tight ends, which is usually more than we go with. So I'm going to be looking at either receiver or running back here. The running back position, not a ton. Dante Foreman, James White, Brian Robinson, maybe taking a shot on a guy in Washington. Other than that, Damien Williams in Atlanta is interesting. Trey Sermon, if you want to take the shot on, maybe he somehow becomes the guy week 1. But I don't think any of that is likely. So I'd rather take a shot on a receiving core that I think has a similar kind of function as some of these running back committees that we are thinking, and looking at like a Kansas City or a Green Bay receiver, and we still have MVS here, Kansas City receiver. We're looking at trying to find the guy who's going to be the number 1, and there's not a clear-cut guy. I guess technically that's Travis Kelce in Kansas City, but those two are 2 Green Bay and Kansas City are 2 teams that there's still a lot of opportunity there, and we don't know who is gonna end up being the favorite. So I think for me, MVS just makes sense as a shot that I can take, and someone that I'm not going to be too attached to, and be fine to cut if it ends up not being him after a week or two, and I need to go to the waivers to pick somebody up. So we'll lock in MVS was my last team here. And I can't get to... see, there we go. Draft grade, get out the way. Last pick, Kenny Gallaudet as the final pick here.
Final last pick. What was your grade?
My draft grade is a B+. Better than I've had in recent years.
Mine was a A-, so we were pretty close then.
Yeah, I clicked on this little thing. Looks like it gives you an overall score. You are 1448, and I'm 1446, so right behind you.
Yeah, so we're pretty close.
But I wonder also, because this did do, once again, the no quarterback as my Superflex here. Because I took quarterback a little bit later. So they got Miles and somebody else. I don't know, for you, did it start both of your quarterbacks?
Yeah, it's got Kirk in there as a Superflex.
Probably when you drafted him, right?
Yeah, probably. It would line up, yeah. But yeah, let's go ahead and run down the rosters real quick. Will was drafting out of the 2. I was drafting out of the 10. Will, you want to go ahead and touch on your team?
I'm trying to... Oh, there we go. I'm going to make sure I can get back to the draft board because I was in the analysis tab here. Yes. So view by team here. All right. So quarterback, got Justin Herbert, Zach Wilson, and Jared Goff. At running back, Deandre Swift, Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Raheem Mostert. At wide receiver, DJ Moore, Brandon Cooks, Jerry Jeudy, Devonta Smith, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And at tight end, TJ Hawkinson and Zach Ertz. Overall, pretty happy with it. I would like probably more running back depth overall, so I'll probably end up going with a running back instead of Zach Ertz. It was more of a glory pick there. Obviously, the QB2 is questionable as well, but my starting lineup, I'm really happy with the 2 running backs. Having Herbert, makes it a lot easier, not having to worry about that position. I'm pretty satisfied with the way my receiving core turned out, and obviously, tight end with both of them there. So it's really more just RB depth and the QB2 that maybe I would have done differently. Maybe I don't, wait on the quarterback early on, lock the second one in, and just take a few more shots at the running back position throughout, as they did fall a little bit there as well.
Very nice, very nice. So looking at my team here, again, from the 10 position, at the quarterback spots, I got Russ and Kirk Cousins. At the running back spots, Joe Mixon, Elijah Mitchell, Damien Harris, Kareem Hunt. Wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Christian Kirk, Kadarius Toney, Devontae Parker, and Tim Patrick. And at tight end, Dalton Schultz. So every year I tend to do one draft where I just draft a bunch of people that I don't normally draft. And that feels like what happened here, even though I didn't really intend it.
Yeah.
Like looking at like Jefferson, Russ, Keenan Allen, Kirk, Damien. I think I've drafted Christian Kirk before. Hunt maybe once or twice this year. Baker, Tim Patrick. A lot of this draft is people that I haven't normally picked, and it makes me feel kind of uneasy. But from a quarterback standpoint, I'm pretty solid there. I'm comfortable with that. Wide receivers starting 2, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen. That's awesome. Running back starting 2, Joe Mixon, Elijah Mitchell. I'm pretty happy with that. Looking at my flex position being a Damien Harris, Christian Kirk, Kareem Hunt, Kadarius Toney if he pops off, I'm pretty okay with that as well. And Dalton Schultz, I said I was fine with. So I guess talking through it, I'm happy with the team. I just look at it and it feels weird. But I guess, it's just people I don't normally draft. Like I look at Damien Harris, it's gross, but I think it makes sense for the team.
Yeah, I want to call out one team. We usually don't call out like the teams that were drafted by the computers here, but the team that actually got the highest score, Team 5, was the team that took those 2 early tight ends. So let me know what you think of this. Derek Carr, Matt Ryan, Ryan Tannehill, quarterbacks. Running backs, Austin Eckler, Antonio Gibson, Rashad Penny, J.D. McKissick, Darrell Williams. Wide receiver, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Drake London, Jamison Williams. And then Kelsey and Andrews as its tight end, and then obviously main flex there. So it's pretty interesting. The starting lineup doesn't look that bad. I mean, I don't think either of us are super high on Gibson, but outside of that, the team isn't pretty bad. Maybe you sub Penny in for Gibson, and the team actually looks pretty solid for going with 2 tight ends in the second and third round.
Yeah, it's not that bad. I could see where it works out for them. Matt Ryan and Ryan Tannehill could be a losing duo as your two if both of them are just older and not producing. But the rest of the team looks fine. I mean, for a team that went, like you said, 2 tight ends, I like it more than I was expecting to like it. I was figuring I was going to come in here and start talking about, well, Fantasy Pros gave them a high grade because they went 2 tight ends and that probably messed with the grading system. But yeah, it's not that bad, really.
No, I mean, and when you do that, you have to do that with the mindset that you are going to be starting both of them every week, and you're going to have them the whole year. Because we've seen it, a few times here in our main league that a team will go with 2 tight ends early, and with the idea is we're going to be able to trade one of them for a premium, and you're never going to get what you want back for a guy that you took in the 3rd or 4th round, by going with those 2 early tight ends. So when you do that, I'm not completely against it if you can get a Kelsey and an Andrews at good value, but do that because you're starting both, not because you're planning to trade one of them.
Yeah, 100%. But interesting team. Awesome. Well, Will, that's going to wrap up this episode. Tune in next week for another mock draft. Until then, folks, trust your board.